Welcome, everybody, to another week of Wealth Wisdom, where we're helping you build wealth and legacy.
Companies are like an organism trying to survive.
It's always a risk when you're investing in a company that's purely tied to someone's brand.
45% of Americans have gone into debt for a Disney trip. All right, welcome back, everybody, to another great week here just outside Boston. Eric, you're downtown, down outside Providence. We're continuing the conversation from last week and going deep dive into the allowance debate today, because what's more valuable to your kids than a weekly allowance?
Love.
Yeah. Food, shelter. Yeah.
Food.
But this is a conversation that I think translates into a lifelong understanding of how money actually works. And so that's what we're going to dive into today, is how do we translate something that's on top of mind for parents everywhere, especially parents of young kids, like how do I pay an allowance? How do we structure it? But also, how can I use it to teach and create an understanding of how money actually works for my kids? So
it's the biggest thing, right? Teaching the kids all you ever hear about is, why don't they teach us in high school? Why don't they teach us, you know what I mean? So it's something at home you can be doing.
Exactly.
To breed future financial geniuses, right? Whizzes, yeah.
Teach financial responsibility, teach them how to do this hands-on, and then we're going to go in like, how do you make this interesting for your child? So before we get into all of that, we'll hit some quick news hits.
It'll help yourself out too. You might be able to help yourself out too. Using that labor, right?
I remember growing up, it was like always, is this child abuse? Is this child labor? Like mowing the lawn and stuff. All right, so let's get into the news. Eric, you want to take us through the news this week? We got a bunch of quick hits.
Yeah, I'll run through it. S&P 500 up 0.5% on the third, closing at 6,448. After it hit that record high of 6,500 this week, NASDAQ gained 1% on the third, closing at 21,497. Tech and semiconductors are the story there.
Yeah.
Private payrolls added just 54,000 jobs in August, so that missed the 69,000 expected, and that's down sharply from July's revised.
Which one thing too, ADPs, so it's probably like more accurate than the government's, but the only thing is that they don't adjust for seasonal work, which I thought was like interesting. You know what I mean? So that's the one part about their report. It's the flaw in ADP's report versus the just something tidbit I want to throw in there.
No, that's good to know. Yeah, the jobs
non-farm payrolls. Official August report is expected to show 78,000. Is that out yet?
Coming out today. Yeah. So this is all eyes on the jobs report today.
Yeah. So and
if you can
people
believe,
want to see unemployment tick up, right? Because then that'll make the Fed's rate cuts more certain. Fed outlooks, markets are betting on the rate cut, so they want to see that unemployment tick up.
Yeah, right now we're seeing like job levels like similar to 2008.
Creation levels or
unemployment levels, I believe. And there's like a growing gap now for the first time for a while, I think since 2021, of jobs that are open and job seekers. And so
okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What do you mean by gap? And so
there's more seekers, people
than
open
jobs
than there are even jobs available. So that's another thing people are looking at.
Yeah. But everything coincides with this. Just so much. There's uncertainty with the rates. There's uncertainty with tariffs. So again, when we talk about
companies not hiring because they have uncertainty, they can't project out their earnings.
Yeah, but that's I feel that's been a big problem for companies is like they're not able to plan, right? So I think once we get by or get a little more certainty in these areas, I'm hoping that will help things. Because in the meantime, and that's what everyone says, right? All the pundits say, like, how is a company supposed to plan with all this stuff going on?
Right.
It's true.
So I think as we get a little more certainty, that will help things.
Do you think, Bill, are you saying if they cut rates this year by, say, 50 bips or whatever, do you think that'll incentivize companies to start hiring and opening more jobs?
I think it will, and it's going to free up cash for them, right? So all the lines of credit and everything that they have open, they're paying less money on it. So it's I can employ more people in turn, right?
Reinvest.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens today with the jobs report. Anything else, Eric? What we got?
Just the companies will be spending $375 billion on AI this year. Some people speculating it's actually more like 600.
I would say it's closer to that. You name 5 companies, they've already spent like 300.
Yeah.
What are like Facebook's at like 85 billion. Amazon's like 110 billion. So there's like just in the Mag 7 alone, not obviously Nvidia is part of that number. They're not spending, they're just making all the money. But
right, that's where that 4.1 trillion.
But I definitely think that 375 billion will be light. I would think it's probably closer.
Yeah.
It is how it's the Mag 7 earnings that's really moving the market, because as long as they're generating revenue and can keep spending and all that's trickling down to all these other companies that are supplying all the data center equipment for their spend, keeps the economy turning more than some of this other government data that comes out.
Yeah, some people are saying this is like the AI spend on infrastructure is what's holding up the economy right now.
Yeah.
It's a massive influx of cash and infusion. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, so let's get into the meat of it. The allowance bill, we're talking about teaching kids about effort, ownership, independence. How do you approach allowance for your kids? Have you guys started? I just want to jump into some stories. I know I'm going off the script here.
So I haven't yet.
Okay.
My kids are, my oldest is 10, so I have a 10, 8, 5, and 2-year-old. Obviously, the 5 and 2-year-old, it doesn't make too much.
Yeah.
Money doesn't really mean too much to them. Although, I don't know, we'll see my 5-year-old. She's could be a mover and a shaker. We'll see what happens. The will be, I think. But yeah, so I haven't got into it, but it is something that I am going to start approaching with my oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Pretty soon. So this is a topic that I'm very interested in, and I believe that there are certain tasks that everybody should be doing no matter what. It's not a money thing, right? You have to put your clothes away. You have to bring your dish over to the sink, things like that. But there's other stuff that I want to say, hey, this is stuff that needs to get done around the house. If you do this, I'm happy to pay you to do it. So give some incentives out there, little carrot out there to get some work done.
It's interesting because what you just said is at what age you start doing this. Because I remember my kids are 12, 10, 7. They didn't care about money for a long time. It was just like not on their radar. And so it was hard to do a lot of this stuff because there is no motivation behind it. Yeah. So I think that's an interesting piece to the whole.
Got to withhold dinner a few nights a week.
You gotta create a demand. They gotta figure out why this is important in the first place. So, but yeah, I think the case that so many parents, I think, ask, what should we do? Should we do allowance or not? And I think there's 3 paths, Eric. I would love to hear what you think, but do you just give it to them? Do you make them earn it? Is it a hybrid? It should be commission-based for tasks around the house. What are your thoughts? I know as a young parent, maybe this is just getting on your radar. But
yeah, I remember we never had an allowance system as kids growing up. I remember being very jealous. At least some of my buddies had spending money for candy and stuff. But yeah, I think probably the hybrid's the best method. No system at all. You're not going to, I feel like that you miss an opportunity to teach your kids like the value of saving, and then also they miss out on a lot of that independence they get when they have their own money and they can choose whether or not they want to spend it on something. But then you want to avoid the pitfalls of, oh, you have an allowance system, but now your kid's not going to do any chores unless they're getting paid for it. So the hybrid, like Bill was talking about, where there's certain ones that are expected, certain chores you're supposed to do, and then anything beyond you get compensated for, which makes a lot of sense because that's the way it is in life too. Like at a job, you're expected to do certain things. Anything beyond is going to get you that promotion. It's going to get you that raise. Freaking concept. Yeah.
So backing up a sec. So both of you guys are on team allowance versus
Yeah,
no
100%.
allowance at all.
Well, what
Just
percent?
one
What percent of people are not on team allowance?
Ooh, I don't know.
It just makes too much sense for me.
Yeah, I think maybe they're not on team allowance, but they're not prioritizing it as parents because it does take a little effort to say like, all right, we have a weekly chore chart. We're going to track this stuff, and here's your allowance every week.
No, a lot of people probably just, hey, if my kid needs something and they ask for it, I give it to them. That's like my quote unquote allowance that I give them. But this is a kind of way of giving a teaching moment while also getting the kids the things that they need, right? And things like that. So
yeah, so there is like a level of effort that you need that goes into this. I know a lot of people are using these, I think they're called sunshine calendars. Have you seen these, Bill?
No, I'm a big believer in just a whiteboard. I feel like you can do a lot with a whiteboard.
I think a whiteboard is the better thing. What is it called? It's like this digital calendar I've seen showing up in a lot of people's homes.
Whiteboards.
Yeah, I think whiteboard is better.
All these,
keep it simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to do this. So, okay, so both you guys are team allowance. So let's dive into the different ways.
Apparently 80% of parents, it says 70 to 80 are team allowance as well.
Are doing allowance.
With 60% requiring chores as part of the allowance. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. Like, how do we structure this the best? Because you can just I remember classmates growing up, they got $20, which I thought was insane. They got $20 every week, no matter what, just because. And then from that $20, they were all expenses came out of that for anything they needed. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that? It teaches them about money, but
yeah, I think that the pros, right, of an allowance, you learn a little bit financial literacy.
Yeah.
Some decision-making skills on what you want to spend, like what your priorities are going to be, right? If the kids want to blow it on, I don't know. I hear like a lot of jokes about kids going to Starbucks.
Oh yeah.
And especially with girls, because I have girls.
Drinks,
It's Starbucks and like Sephora, like skincare, things like that, right? That's what they want to.
Crazy popular.
Yeah. So you know what I mean, like things like that. So I don't know, but.
Starbucks is the reason why my daughter started caring about money, Bill.
No kidding. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're like, I don't know. It's kind of like they're
middle school
expensive drinks that aren't good for you too, right? So you almost don't want them to get too into it. But
you need to socialize with your buddies, and that's the spot to go.
I guess that. But it's good because it teaches them those decisions. Should I spend it on the, I don't know, $5.73 drink, right? Or should it go towards something else that you like?
Right.
But it also encourages saving, right? So they're like, okay, maybe I can spend. You get the $20, and again, these are just arbitrary numbers, but yeah, you get the $20. I wanted to put 12 away, and I'd spend 8. So you delaying that for maybe a bigger purchase, maybe down the line.
Yeah.
You can get some organizational skills on how you want to shape those things. We get into those incentives and
so we have allowance alone, and then we have allowance with chores attached.
Yeah, right. So then, with the chores, it might be like your time management, right? So hey, I have practice today. I got homework to do, and I got to get this. I need to vacuum the hallway or something. You know what I mean? Something like that, right? And so it kind of gets them to organize, right, their life and things like that, so they know this is going to take me 10 minutes to do, right? And I got to get this done before this time.
So,
here's a question: Can I be the parent that's anti-allowance? If I'm giving my kids money, are they just gonna become a brat, right? And are they just gonna spend the money on dumb stuff? Like I don't want that. What would you say to that?
But are you going to be the parent who buys them everything anyway?
I mean, probably. Yeah, they're going to be brats.
Well, I was going to say, then you got to say to them, when they go to buy something and they say, hey, can I have money? You're going to say, yeah, you can take it out of your money, right? Justin, this is what you said that you've used.
Yeah.
So you've gone to them and say, yeah, that's fine. You can buy it. We're going to take it out of your money. So then now they get a thing. Do I really want this? Yeah.
Right.
Because Justin, you're like, I don't want to spend the money on this thing. So
you know what?
I'm going to make sure that you really want this.
What I caught myself doing was saying, no, you're not going to get that. And then they'd be like, oh, why not? You're the worst. You're the meanest, right? And now I'm the enemy. And then I don't want to say no because we can't afford it, right? I don't want to push that into their brains of like,
That's like supposedly something, right? That is all this childhood trauma stuff I hear all the time.
Right. Money doesn't grow on trees. You can't afford it. All these sayings.
Flushing money down the toilet. Yeah.
Like you don't want to push that into their brains either. And so I was like, all right, listen, I know, because I don't know, around here, the Tooth Fairy is pretty generous. But so I was like, I know you got some money. Like, you can use it. And they're like, well, I don't have money on me. And I'm like, that's no problem. I have money. I'll pay for it now. But when we get home, as soon as we get home, you got to go upstairs, reach in that piggy bank, and pay me back. And they would be like, I'm going to put it down. And
I don't need my 70-second stuffed animal.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's what has been working. It's been interesting. I will ask you this though, because at some point they start hoarding the money, right? They're like, they won't spend it. And so do you want to push them to spend? And because then they start to learn about like budgeting and everything. It's actually a conversation I remember clearly growing up. My dad had to pull me aside and say, it's okay to spend some money. You got to live your life.
Yeah. But even like the spending, you can tie it to a reward to try to get them to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they worked hard in sports or school and you're like, hey, it's time to spend some of that cash if they're unwilling to.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
It'd be like, why aren't we spending yours if we're rewarding us? So I don't know. Yeah.
Right. And so, like, where do you draw the line? Is it family ice cream? Everyone's buying, all the kids have to afford their own ice cream. Sorry, Jimmy, you ran out of money. Oh, you're not getting it.
I know that. That's the tough thing is, what do you encourage your kids to spend money on?
Yeah. Well, okay. So is there a level up on this? So we talked about the allowance alone, not tied to chores. And then you can go chores, tied to a chore, like expected chores. But then are you teaching your kids that they're only going to do tasks around the house for money? And so what do you guys think? I'd love to hear both of your opinions on this. What is the best option for structuring allowance right now in your minds? Like just putting the financial advisor hat on.
There's got to be some incentive because the saying, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome, right? So if you want to get extra stuff done around the house, that's one thing I want to teach them is that if you're a go-getter and you think outside the box on, hey, what else can I be doing, right? Because think about it, right? At a lot of companies, it's great if you're an employee and they say, hey, these are your tasks, right? But the people who really excel are the ones who can do extra stuff, right? We just did an interview, with Bruce, Sinclair, and he was saying how he started in the industry was he could do everything, or he would try to figure it out, and so it got to the point where it was like, Bruce can do it, right? He started hearing that more, and that's how he moved up. And so if you think about having more and more incentivizing some of those chores when they say, oh, gee, I didn't know how to do it, but I figured it out, right? I figured out how mom or dad wanted this done.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to get them to not only make that extra money, but also think creatively and do it in a manner so that they can make a little extra money. And they also did some problem solving in the meantime. And if you got it, I'm not saying everyone does, but maybe then throw a little bonus payment on there, right? When stuff like that happens, right? When they kind of they do that extra stuff and they creatively think about it, right? That's a good way to get your kids to think outside the box and also get the chore done. So,
yeah. What do you think, Eric? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, ideally that hybrid system and that we talked about earlier would be the best, right? As far as what kind of allowance to give your kids. But the thing to remember is this is going to take a lot of effort from the parents to make this work. You'll actually have to keep track of your kids, like what they're doing. And a lot of times you're overwhelmed. You're like, yeah, here's some cash, go out, do whatever. And that's what ends up happening.
Get out of my face.
Yeah. But so yeah, any system is going to be good. I actually have some interesting stats. And the reason having the system in place, teaches kids the value of money, value of hard work. And then it gives them that a little bit of independence that they would otherwise not have at all. So they can decide whether or not they want to buy something dumb. And that's their choice. So kids spend 40% of their allowance on food and snacks, 30% on toys and games, and then the rest on savings. That's interesting. Over half of kids say they'd rather earn extra allowance for big purchases than have to ask their parents for that money. So kids have this innate independence, and they want to know that they're the one buying that toy or game, and they're the one that earned that money. So I'm sure it builds self-confidence and all that kind of stuff that has an effect down the road. Parents who use allowances as a teaching tool are 25% less likely to have money arguments with their kids. So once again, that's the involvement, not just giving them the money. It has to be a little bit of teaching involved there.
Yeah, you would hope that would be higher than 25%, but
because I'm sure most parents, you're overwhelmed and you're like, yeah, here's the cash. That's how it goes. It'll be interesting to see too, like with the allowance system, Bill's got 4 kids, like which kids are the savers, which ones are the go-getters that want to do more chores, and then which ones are the spenders who are spending down their allowance. And then Bill, what was you had a thought about what you hear from current clients?
There is a difference. Each kids have like their own idea of money and how I'll talk to one person, they'll say, oh, this kid she saves every last dime that she makes. She's this years old, and just from working, she saved $7,500, right? Or something like that. Well, my other daughter, she works, the money comes in, and like she's doing things, she's spending it each week, and there's very little left over by the time the next paycheck comes in. So those are kids who are working, right? They're more teenage years, right? But it's interesting to hear the differences between each child and how they,
There's huge differences. And it's like, I think you can customize things based on those personalities, not treating every child exactly the same, just like finding those little incentive differences and what they care about and how they operate. But I think we should dive into that a little bit. But there's also like we've said, the hybrid approach. I just wanted to like really frame it out for people. Like I think you can think about it as a 3-bucket system. So where you've got like the family contributions, where it's like you're a part of this family, you're expected to do these tasks because you're a part of the family.
Yeah. And stuff like that, right? Is the dishes, is the putting clothes away. What other tasks would you say?
Keeping your room clean.
Yeah, your room clean, brushing your teeth, making the bed, stuff like that.
No, but like, dude, what kid does the dishes without being told to do it?
No, bring the dishes over.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just bringing it to the sink or putting it in the dishwasher.
Cleaning up after your messes that you make. I think that 100%.
That's not happening. Dude, you don't want to ruin your setup of toys on the floor.
No, that's happening. That's happening in my house. Trust me.
No, you got to be done. And then I think there's also, so like then you so you have all those, identify those family contributions.
Yeah.
And then you've got the second bucket, which would be allowance for money management sake. So I'm getting a weekly amount of money and teaching them how to manage their money.
Call that a low base pay, right? Just
Yep. Yeah, that's your low base. And then you've got the commission bonuses. I think that's what you just said, Bill.
Yeah.
So those 3 buckets. And then are you saying, I've talked about this slightly. We have not implemented this yet in our house transparently. So like we got to do it. But then what are the above and beyond chores? That they get extra money for you, like a sign payout.
What's the discretionary work?
Yeah.
What what overall house cleaning? Maybe it's outdoor work. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably more family dependent. So if it's something that you're gonna do, everybody's different, right? So if let's say you're someone who does like to do a little bit of landscaping, maybe you don't do all the landscaping, maybe you hire some people for some of it. But then there are certain projects you're going to do. You could put on there and say, hey, this Sunday I'm going to, there's this bed around this tree. I'm going to remulch it. I need help doing it.
Yeah.
Right. If you guys help me.
That's great.
Right. That's going to be some money, something like that.
Washing the cars.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Cleaning out the car, getting all fries from out of the cracks.
Oh my God. Our cars, our kids, just so much stuff, especially in the back of our SUV. It's so bad.
Yeah. When they're so little, I remember joking. I'd be like, it was in the winter time, and I'd be like, our kids were so young. It was like all the stuff, the food stuff is everywhere, and you're like, if we got stranded in a snowstorm, we'd probably still be fine, and we'd have to eat all the shit. You'd be okay. The French fries, like the stale stuff, the pretzels, could survive a few hours,
a few days,
but
maybe a week. Yeah.
But no, I think that's good. And then you've got the bigger pieces, right? So big tasks, you could say, hey, if there's a huge project, right, it's going to take some weeks. Like, you can assign a bigger price tag to that as well. Sure. But I like your point, Bill, about being family specific. I think the entrepreneurs listening to this, if you've got your own business too, that opens up a whole different set of things you can add in, I would think.
Yeah. And then you can pay your kid through your business at a very little tax rate, you know?
Yeah, now we're getting into the good stuff.
All that fun planning things that you can be doing, and taking that money into a Roth IRA or paying for their college. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Well, are there age limits? You have to be a certain age to do those things, to work in your family business and then pay them?
No, it just has to be a reasonable rate, right? So you have to pay them for the skills that they are equipped to do.
Got it.
Okay, so you can't be like, yeah, I can't pay my 10-year-old for IT managed services, $60,000 a year, only to find out your kid can't even turn on a computer, right? But there have been cases, there's definitely case law and things like that where people have been audited. IRS agent comes in, they're like, there's no way that you could pay this kid $35,000, right? They just don't. And then it come to find out the kid actually is very talented with computers, right? So
yeah. Benefit of that is that the business is a business, you can write it off as an expense, and then the child is paying almost no taxes or a very low tax rate.
Much lower. Yep, exactly.
But there's a threshold that they actually pay no tax, right, as a child.
There's a standard, what's called the standard.
Yeah.
2024 was $13,850. I want to say it's $14,200 for 2025. But yeah, no federal tax anyway. Like you pay some, if you live in Massachusetts, depending on the state you live in too, it would result in a state tax liability. But still, if the person does enough and you're paying them $14,000 and you're paying $350, $400 in state tax, no federal tax, whereas you'd be paying several $1,000s on that money.
Yeah.
That's
a sweet allowance. 14,000 divided by 52 weeks. We're talking about $270 a week in allowance. If they're working for the business.
Or maybe they're working hard for it, right?
That's great. So that 3-bucket system's huge. And then how do we determine, do you guys have any guidelines on age? So are you paying equal amounts across all ages, or are they separate?
Yeah, I think it's got to be separate, because the older the kids are, the more they realize what
how much they need.
Right.
The expenses. What is it? Little kids, little problems. Big kids, big problems. It's probably the same with expenses, right? Little kids, little expenses. Big kids, big expenses. So I think as you get older, you gotta pay them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Although pretty sure the teenagers this year, the amount of money they're commanding, I feel like is a little out of whack. I remember a couple of years ago, I wanted some kid. I was living in Boston. I had a very small driveway, but the car was in it. So the snow was basically, the car itself took care of most of it. Very small walkway, it was probably for 2 kids, it only took me 10, 15 minutes to do, maybe. And I asked some kid, and he's like, yeah. My brother handles the money. So I asked him, I was like, hey, how much would this be? Because I got to go to work and my wife's inside. I just had a baby. Can you take care of this for me? And he's like, yeah, it's $80. And I was like, There's no chance of that much money for 15 minutes worth of work, buddy. You know what I mean? Do you want to be realistic here, or do you not want the business? So, and like one of my other friends was saying how his son was like, "Oh yeah, you can pay me $30 an hour." And he's like, "You have a seventh grade education. What do you think this is?" So, but yeah,
All right,
definitely going to
so-
scale it up as they age, right?
Okay, cool. So scale it up, and then best practices. I think there's a few key points just to keep in mind as you implement this in your home. You've got to be consistent, set expectations. Like Eric, you had said at the top of the show, like this all depends on like how much you're willing to put into it. I think the success of the allowance program.
Yeah, because there needs to be a system. There needs to be logic to it, right? Which is going to take a lot of effort from the parents.
Because otherwise the kids are gonna be like, well, I don't actually have to do this stuff, or I'm not gonna get allowance anyway. So
right, I get the allowance regardless of if I actually do the chores well or not.
Right. So defining those, like, when are the payouts? So if they're doing extra tasks around the house that are above and beyond, when do they get paid? Is it monthly? Is it weekly?
And that's something in life in general, right? You always want to create clear expectations, and you want consistency. That's what everyone wants, right? People you work with want that, right? Your clients want that. Customers, everybody wants clear and consistent expectations.
It's true.
I'll say maybe if my dad had a allowance system in place, we wouldn't have played on the stairs with Legos all the time, and his life would have been a lot better.
Right.
Yeah.
You still, I think there's balance in everything. Like you still want your kids playing as well.
Who would have cleaned it
I
up?
don't know. Maybe.
No.
Yeah.
And then what do we think? What are things to avoid?
Yes.
What do you guys have?
I think it's what for me personally, I think I don't want to make the kids think that like they're only doing the work to get paid around the house. So I like to emphasize like, hey, you're part of this family. Start helping out. Like it doesn't all fall around on.
Yeah, you're doing this because you love me.
Well, like you're part of the family. And
I'm teasing.
Yeah, you want to make your kids feel like they're contributing too. Like that makes them feel good.
The greater good.
Yeah, and so I like just the other day I was like, guys, if you see stuff like a blanket that needs folding, like it's sitting on the ground, just pick it up. Can we do that? That'd be great.
Dude, good luck.
There is always a blanket on like the floor, on my couch. It's the middle of the summer, and I'm like, why is this even out? You know what I mean? Like I put it away. I'm like, who took this out? How does this happen?
Right. It's crazy. So yeah, that for me, that's it. And rescuing them from poor decisions. So I think like it's one thing to let them have free will and like free reign on what they spend their money on. So if I'm at the store, okay, yeah, you should buy that like with your own money. But then you're still the parent, right? So if they're picking up a stupid thing, like I'm going to have that discussion. Like, all right, do we really need this?
Yeah. Maybe bring back a past experience. Remember when you bought this? How many times have you really used that? Do you really think you're getting value out of buying something like this, right?
Yeah. And I think, Bill, like this is the last thing. And I think this is like the last level, like the highest level of this implemented in your home. And this is where my goal I need to get to is having a discussion with them on how to spend their money. So like we're talking about and save, right? So we talk about save, like, is it even is the money just sitting at home in a piggy bank? Is it in a bank account? Like back in the day, we got like passbooks. Like I don't know if you ever got that. Like at the bank, they give you a passbook.
Yeah. Passbook checking,
and
right?
you could see. We went to the bank, we deposit money, and then you see what's in it now on the passbook. So it's. But now, is it worth putting money into a savings account as a child, in a bank where you don't even see it? I don't think so.
Invest it. Yeah. Get that working for you.
Yeah, and so having that discussion, whether it's monthly or I think maybe it's probably best monthly, but you could do weekly. But let them make it fun for them. Can they pick the stocks or have a discussion like what stocks do you want to pick based on maybe what they use the most?
Yeah, talk about what they use and then maybe say, hey, this is a company that does this.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And we can get a little piece of everyone else that's buying these same products, right? So as that company makes money, we can actually benefit from this.
I should have. Yeah, there's a stat. It's crazy. It's if you took the amount of money it costs for a new iPhone every year that it came out.
Oh,
You know what I'm
it's
talking about?
every time
And
that, yeah, if
instead
you
of
bought every
sending
new
it, you
iPhone
would
and put it into Apple,
exactly, yeah.
it's an insane amount of money. Insane amount of money. I mean, you're talking about at this point, what the iPhone came out in '06, so
Yeah, we're on
almost
iPhone
20.
17 coming out soon.
Yeah. So that is just that's a lot of money, right? I know obviously at one point the carriers always paid for it,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't like you were
For
paying out of pocket.
You're gonna make
Even
your
still.
kid pay their phone bill? Is that what
No,
you're
no,
talking
what
about?
we were
Okay,
talking
cool.
about,
Yeah.
no, when discussing with your children, talking about how like you can buy, we're talking about investing, right? So
Yeah.
it's to get the ideas in their head of what to invest in. So you can say, hey, what things do you like? And then they'll start listing off, well, maybe they'll say, I love my iPad, right? Like the
Right.
things I can do on my iPad. Be like, okay, Apple makes this iPad. This is what Apple does. Would you want to invest in Apple so that you get a piece of the earnings that you and all your friends who have iPads or Apple products?
Right.
Do you
So
see how addicted you are to your iPad? Now imagine that across all children in the world.
let's take advantage of these things.
Dude, we should
Profit.
do a phones episode, like phone addiction episode. Like I'm very interested in what you guys' rules are with your kids and what the discussion is with other parents. Because it's definitely that towing that line between, and then obviously, right, you're talking about bullying and all that kind of stuff. Should kids be able to communicate with each other like late at night? Yeah, so I think that could be a great episode. But you don't want to be left out. You don't want to be the loser that doesn't have the phone and can't communicate with everybody else. So
it's a great debate. And there's a lot of parents in this growing movement of saying no phones until like 8th grade or something.
8th grade, yeah. Wait, how old what grade's your oldest, Justin?
It should be 16. It should be banned during school hours. That's where
well, states are actually now banning it.
That's my stamp right there, what I think.
Yeah.
I think New York banned it. A bunch of other states. I think Massachusetts is talking about banning it right now.
My niece was visiting private high schools, right? So she was trying to pick which private high school she wanted to go to. And she actually made one of the schools. I was like, oh, why didn't you this school here? What made you not want to apply that? She goes, when I went into one of the classrooms, every kid was sitting there on their phone during a class that she sat in on. And she's that to me just didn't seem right. So no, but that actually affected her decision, which I thought was incredibly mature on her part.
For sure. Yeah, that's great.
But
I bet a lot of kids would have chose the school for that reason.
Well, what I find interesting is this is in a very expensive high school. So you're talking about 50 to, I don't even know, right? $65,000 a year or something like that. One of these very expensive private schools. And the fact that the
boarding, is it?
Offers boarding.
Oh, yeah.
And so
it's a hot topic.
Those hybrids. But
it's a hot topic because I think a lot of parents also want to be able to reach their kids throughout the day for especially high school.
Various reasons.
Get them the old school brick phone. Yeah, that's the.
Yeah. Hey, the Nokia, get snakes on that. That was sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's great. Let's move on to the last piece of the show. We've got Amphenol Corporation as the main highlight, our stock pick from our portfolio that we want to share with you guys today. So I know we bought the stock March 27, 2024. So some time ago.
Year and a half ago. Yeah.
Yep. What were you guys thinking when you were in the investment committee debating this? What were each of your thoughts looking at it? And I guess we should have backed up again, but Bill, fill us in on what they do, so everyone has a baseline if they haven't heard of Amphenol.
Yeah. Amphenol does a lot of things with fiber optics. There, again, we talked about these AI, the need for all this movement of information and things like that. They do a lot of, again, it's like a guts company, right? It's a lot of the electronic and fiber optic connectors, cable and interconnect systems, things like coaxial cables, stuff that's probably a little out of my, I'll say. But it's a lot of infrastructure, right? That's the thing, is they build the infrastructure for all those things. So you got a company like Verizon, right, who gives you your internet, just for example. They're going to build the
They're like the backbone of that.
Yeah, the systems, right? That move that information. That's what they do. They work with things like that. You hear about all these AI data centers, right? A lot of their products are going into the build out of those AI data centers. So when we talk about right now, especially where it's really relevant, is this $400 to $600 billion of tech spend. Their piece of that.
AI data centers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Massive.
And so they obviously huge for just getting the internet in your house and things like that for cable companies and internet service providers, things like that. Now with this huge build out that we're seeing with AI data centers and everything that goes along with that. And remember, everything else is going to be upgraded too. So it's not the AI data center, it's all the other upgrades that goes in. And so they're working with private companies, they're working with semi-private utility, things like that, right? Yeah. Government. So it's going into really facets of the build out.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that, Eric. We bought it in 2024. Was it, in your mind, was it AI or was there other? It sounds like they touch a lot of things as well.
Yeah. We wanted exposure in the AI space. The other big spaces it's in is automotive. A lot of the cable connections in cars, right? Cars are the dashboards are freaking computer screens. They have a lot of exposure to commercial aerospace, defense, huge. They're huge in defense. And then broadband, like Bill was talking about. So really it's buying a Fortune 500 company that's a mutual fund, right?
Yeah, and they make a lot of stuff too. They don't just make it for like indoors, right? They make it for stuff that's gonna like last outside. Yeah. So it could be the harsh winters of New England versus the hot summers in the South. So with Amphenol though, kind of like I said, kind of drew us in due to the AI play. We wanted to have something that maybe not necessarily wasn't the up in front, AI play, but that is gonna build out or profit from the build out of everything that's going to go on for years to come, as we know that this is going to be
I think it's just
several year.
I think it's just the beginning for the AI build out, like the infrastructure build out.
Yeah, I mean, you keep hearing all these things. It's only it's 10 o'clock, but the party runs till 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. something like that. But and then some of the other things, just recent news with Amphenol. Not taking all that build out stuff, but acquisition wise, right? They're a company that they've been able to acquire. So they acquired Trexon for $1 billion. It's expected to close in the fourth quarter. This will kind of help strengthen its defense focused product offerings. They've also completed a major $10.5 billion acquisition of CommScope's connectivity and cable solutions business, which anticipates to close in the first half of 2026. So this is kind of, again, it's bolstering its position, right, in all these AI-driven data center infrastructure plays, things like that. It's putting it in even better position to profit from, from how this is happening. And this gives our clients and ourselves, because we invest the same way, for our clients as we do for ourselves, but it gives us, a well-diversified exposure. So you talk about Warren Buffett, right? He loves boring businesses that just continue to profit. And what's nice too, we've seen a great run in the stock price, but it also pays a dividend too as well. So that's been like a bonus, right? So although the dividend yield isn't very high right now, and that's mainly due to the run up in the stock price, it's a little extra, right? So we've seen a 95% return, but when you tack on dividends, it's even higher than that, right? And if you've reinvested those dividends, it's even more. So,
right. Yeah, no, it's been a great performer for the portfolio. It's been great. I just wanted to add before we wrap this section up that this is not investment advice, and that you should make your own decisions. Talk to your own financial advisors before you do any investment.
Yeah, make sure it's right for you, right?
Yeah. Because we've been in it for a while doesn't mean you should jump in it right now. So it's got to be right for your situation. Or if you want to talk further, you can always call Bill. But yeah, I just want to make sure that is known. Just because we bought it I don't know, a year and a half ago doesn't mean you should go buy it today. So you make sure you look at that. But this segment is not investment advice. We just want to share how we think about investing, our investment thesis, and share that with you all.
So, well, I will say earning estimates have continued to be revised upwards. So that's always a good sign.
That is very good. All right, guys. I think that is the show this week. Thanks for listening. As always, be a good friend. And if you found value in this, give it a share. Share it with a friend. That's the only way we can keep doing this and keep growing. So.
Oh, and I will say too, in closing, when it comes to the allowance, there have been studies, right? Multi-decade studies that have shown that kids who were given chores, they ended up being more independent. They were able to work better in collaborative groups and have and just having that understanding, just probably allowed them to be better members of, the world and the community. So it's something that
teaches that.
Yeah, it teaches a lesson.
Work ethic, responsibility.
Yep. We all want to be raising functional, helping members of society. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I'm glad you said that. So again, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Do good, be good.